I've been raising funds and awareness of breast cancer for 20 years. But just when I started working for the Estée Lauder companies, I'd just lost my grandmother to breast cancer. So when I was asked to help with raising funds for the Breast Cancer Research Foundation, it was something which felt very immediate and vital to me because of the experience we'd just gone through as a family. But in fact, now I've come to hear other people's stories throughout the 20 years that I've been raising funds and awareness, particularly at this moment when we've expanded our awareness campaign to include not only women who've been diagnosed with breast cancer, but also the families that have supported them through these times. Now I'm seeing and hearing their stories. It makes me very sad for the time that my grandmother and my family went through, because we knew so much less about the disease then, and we'd learned so little about how people were dealing with it, that I just wish I could go back in time and give the sort of support to my grandmother that I know that you've now received from your partners and families, children. And, you know, it just makes me very sad for the people who didn't understand the importance of sharing stories and sharing experiences.
Well, Paula, tell us about that. Tell us about your experience first.
I found lumps, so that's how I came to find that I had cancer, and went straight to my GP, who referred me to the hospital, who got straight on with the action that was needed. And at that moment of being told you have cancer, you realise, as a self-employed mum with an incredibly supportive husband who has a 5.5 or 4.5-year-old child, you realise that people are there for you. And that meant throughout the whole treatment, I was mentally strong because I had support.
Sally, is it the same for you, that talking about it gives you perhaps a bit more strength to deal with it?
Yeah, I think so. I think I was always very open from my diagnosis, both with my children, my family and my friends, because people are so upset for you and they want to help you. And by sharing your story, I just felt it helped, that they could help you back. And
you can help others with awareness. And what do you think about these people like Elizabeth, who's had breast cancer in her family, but more recently, over the weekend, in fact, we've heard about Michaela Strachan talking about a double mastectomy because of breast cancer. Do you feel part of that awareness-raising sort of campaign, if you like?
Yes, definitely. I think the more people see and hear about it, especially normal, ordinary people like myself and Paula, sharing our stories, then hopefully more women will share their stories too. And I'm sure that there are so many families out there who've been through a very similar situation to me, and it gives you a great deal of strength and comfort knowing that you're not the only one out there going through such a terrible thing. Since
your grandmother passed away and you've been involved in raising the awareness and this campaign, how much have things changed?
I believe things have changed a lot in the 20 years that I've taken a very keen interest in this subject. I think on many levels it's changed. We've always been very aware that we have two parts of our campaign: awareness and fundraising, and they're obviously both vital. And from the fundraising that we've done, which goes straight into research for the Breast Cancer Research Foundation, I'm lucky enough that I spent quite a lot of time with some of the research scientists, and they tell us of the developments that they've made, and it's fabulous. It's really, really good. Evelyn Lauder's aim was that one day there'd be a day when women stop dying of breast cancer. And even in the time that I've been raising funds for the foundation, the survival rate has gone up. We now know that if a cancer's found early and is localized, there's a 95% chance of recovery. And we find that an incredibly important thing to share with women, because it'll take some of the fear out of finding a lump and being terrified, of course, but going straight to your doctor, knowing that speed is so very much of the essence.
You mentioned Evelyn Lauder there, and she was quite key in raising your own personal awareness of breast cancer. Tell us what she did for your birthday.
For my 40th, she gave me my first mammogram. It was actually in America at the Sloan Kettering, at the breast centre, the Evelyn Lauder Breast Centre there. And she made me promise that every year I'd have a mammogram. And I've stuck to that. And it's quite a tough thing to do, actually, because...
Do you find it scary going for these kind of things?
I'm absolutely terrified when I sit and wait for the results. yup, and I can look around the room and I can see that every single woman is also very scared. And that's because even though I have a huge amount of facts and figures at my fingertips, I know that if something bad is found, I know that it'll be early stages because I know I was there the year before and was given a clean bill of health. But even knowing the statistics, I'm terrified. And I think a lot of it is, it's not even really fear for myself, it's fear for my family. And I know that's exactly what you encountered, having children and knowing that you were going to have to face the possibility of leaving them. Now, of course, we're just so glad that you survived and got through it. And we know that the majority of women now will, even though that's not to say that the treatment isn't still horrific to go through. And I think by sharing that, you also take a bit of the fear out of that, even though we all know still it is still a terrible experience to have to go through. But I've also heard that when people come out the other side, that's why the thanks that they have for the researchers and for the improvement in their treatment means that that's what they really want to share too with other women. And of course, men. We now know that 1% of all breast cancers actually occur in men. And I've met several men who've been diagnosed with breast cancer. And even though it is only 1% of breast cancers, it's still a significant percent. And again, with them, it's a little bit like going back 20 years ago with women. They're in the dark ages still about dealing with breast cancer because most men don't even think about having breasts for a start. So that again is another new field that we're looking at. And it's not an insignificant field either.
Well, certainly with us and the wider issue, it seems that knowledge is power. So thank you very much indeed for sharing all of your stories today.
Thank you.
Thank you.